government saying it is not withholding the 1 billion rand funds for KZN flood relief. This after the Democratic Alliance in KZN has called for the provincial government to release the contingency reserve funds in the wake of the April floods. Now, the party claims that there has been a delayed response by government leaders to help the residents. Joining me now to discuss this is Democratic Alliance leader in KZN, Francois Rodgers, who speaks to us from Kokstad. Mr. Rodgers, thank you very much for your time. You've taken this straight to the top to say when President Ramaphosa promised that 1 billion rand would flow almost instantaneously to KZN, that actually was not true, because now there's talk about provincial governments reprioritizing. The government has come out to say no, that's actually not the case. In fact, if anything, the process is underway to release these funds.
Morning, Collie, and good morning to your viewers. Look, Collie, I can only work with the information I have at hand. And I personally, on a one-on-one, and in fact during a debate in the provincial legislature, asked the MEC of Finance, Nomusa Dube, exactly, how the money was going to be flowing through into the province. And her response to me was there is no 1 billion rand, and that we would have to reprioritize our budget over the MTF, so that any funding that we got from national would be cut off our equitable share and our conditional grants over the next 2 years. And that's what I base my opinion on her comments.
Yeah. What about the competency of the officials in KZN, Mr. Rodgers? Have you, as the opposition, looked at that? And I'll tell you why I'm asking this of you. Last week, when the MEC, Sipho Hlomuga, came out to say the money that was promised has not come through, the Witness newspaper quoted a senior official at National Treasury, who said the following, and that is that the officials in KZN did not follow the required protocols in order for the monies to be released. And what is the example of those protocols? So they went on to say that, for example, they're supposed to send quotations for specific related projects. And this was supposed to have been done a long time ago, and it had not been done. How do you respond to that?
Well, my response, colleague, quite clearly is that it appears the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. Because as far as I know, the provincial government, I think at the beginning of last week, had indicated that they'd done all the preliminary work and the costings, and that had been submitted. Now, a week later, we're still fiddling around and trying to determine who's at fault. The main problem here is, although the rains might have come and gone, we're still sitting on a human disaster, with thousands of people living in community halls, with thousands of people not having water. And it really just seems strange that we declare a national state of disaster, but we're unable to address the human plight that's currently in our province. And that's, you touched on it earlier, that was one of the issues I raised at our press briefing on Monday, is our province has 300 million rand in a contingency reserve. That money is there purely for disasters like we've got now. And the question remains is, why aren't we using it? Why aren't we seeing housing coming up? Why aren't we seeing sewer spools being fixed? Why aren't we seeing waterworks being repaired?
Well, the other question linked to this, Francois, would relate to the MEC that is directly involved, I would think, in the rebuilding phase. And that is the MEC Sipho Hlomuga. So whilst on the one hand, he is leading efforts to try and rebuild, on the other, there is talk about him going to national government. What's the state of the provincial cabinet at the moment? And quite a crucial MEC at a crucial phase is touted to leave the province and go to national.
Well, you see, this just creates more uncertainty, Kuli. Again, officials in Copta, I know, are unsure of exactly what's going on, who's going to replace them. At a time like this, when we have a disaster, if in fact he is moving, then the Premier and the ANC must step up and tell us who's going to replace him. You also indicate, Kuli, that Sipho Hlumuka is in fact in charge of the disaster. But we hear very little communication. We don't know where this disaster management center is placed. I heard on your broadcast earlier the Premier is going to be making an announcement. Well, I think what the people of KwaZulu-Natal, and in particular eThekwini, want to know, where the challenges are, what's the solution, and by when we're going to roll out this plan. And there seems to be none of that. It seems to us that everybody works in silos during this crisis.
Francois, as we wrap up our conversation, we are quibbling, you and I, about the 1 billion rand that has been promised by national government. On your side, you are saying that there's 300 million in contingency reserves in KZN. Those funds clearly not released just yet. There are estimates upwards of 25 billion that KZN is going to require in order to rebuild to at least what it looked like, hopefully even look better than that. Where do you think this money is going to come from?
Well, I think we need to separate it. I am aware that the total damage is 25 billion, but I think a lot of that is private property, which is incorporated in that. And the last calculation I saw was that the state, which still is a huge problem, we sit with a 17 billion rand headache. And as you say, 1 billion or 300 million certainly not going to get us there. But again, what are our short-term priorities during this crisis? What are our medium-term priorities? And what are our long-term? And I think if we can start hearing that type of talk with some action, then, we can work our way through the disaster that the province has faced. I must also just say, Kuli, I believe that the ad hoc committee, which was established by the National Assembly, they're going to be on the ground here next week from the NA, and we welcome that because that is the sort of oversight that we need in the province of KZN.
Yeah. Well, as you indicated earlier, Francois, we are expecting the Premier of KZN to give an update in a short while. What should he be saying to residents of KZN?
Well, it's exactly as I've just outlined, Kuli. What we want to know, what are the priorities? At the moment, the priorities are housing. People are living in community halls, adults with children, no proper toilet facilities. What is the housing challenges? Give us a time frame of how these houses are going to be rolled out, where they're going to be rolled out. The other priority is water. What are the actual challenges? What are the time frames and the plans to correct that? And of course, the other crisis we're facing now is the sewer spills that are going into our waterways and now contaminating the water source. Again, what are the problems? How are we going to address them? I heard today that only yesterday, eThekwini appointed sewer contractors and specialists to be dealing with the sewer challenges, and this has been for weeks now.
Yeah, it is a crisis. Let's leave it there. Francois Rodgers, thank you very much for your time, leader of the Democratic Alliance in KwaZulu-Natal.